Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book The Towers of the Sunset by L.E. Morissette Jr. This is the second book in the Saga of Recluce series, the first book being The Magic of Recluce. I read this book last year and I enjoyed parts of it, but there were parts of it that I didn't enjoy. I felt very mixed about it, but overall still very positive. Particularly, I loved the magic system and the world building in the book. And that is still the case with the second book, although I think the second book has a slightly better plot and a bit better of a story. If you don't know, the Saga of Recluce is not told linearly. This saga is spanning not thousands, like about 1,600 years, I believe, and the author jumps around from period to period. So you're not following all along. You might read something in the 1400s and then jump back to the 900s and then jump forward to the 1500s. You don't know where you're going. It's jumping all over the place. But you're getting little bits of the world building from each era, and you're understanding what this world's like and what the magic system and how the politics have affected things and how the cultures change and all that stuff. So the first book in the series, The Magic of Recluce, is actually the second to last book chronologically. It's towards the end of the series. Whereas this book, The Towers of the Sunset, takes place about 300 years earlier. So the basic plot of this book is our main character is a character named Kreslin, and he is the son of this woman called the Marshal, or the Marshal, and she is the leader of this portion of the land of Kandor. And this area of Kandor, the western side of Kandor, is a world run by women. The women have all the power. The women have all the political power, the fighting power. They're the ones who are in charge of everything. The men are just kind of like afterthoughts. The men are just kind of there. He's actually referred to as the consort, because that's basically all his job's meant to be. His whole job is to be married off to someone so that he can preserve political ties. And you can see some of the political commentary that the author's making in this book. And it's very similar in some ways to other fantasy books and series. The Wheel of Time has similar world building regarding gender roles. The Drizzt, the first Drizzt book, Homeland, really deals with these types of gender ties. And this book, the main character does not want to get married, and so he runs away. And in his attempt, he ends up running into the woman he was betrothed to marry. And because of some circumstances that transpire, he and she, her name is Megara, are forced to marry and run away to the island of Recluce, where they now are becoming the new regents, co-regents of it. So the woman he was trying to avoid having to marry is now the one that circumstances force him to get married to for survival. And then it's just delightful storytelling, and it's pretty obvious where the story's going with that. And I'll say that this book has a dichotomy of storytelling. There's the first half of the book, and then there's the second half of the book. The first half of the book is truly some of the most bland fantasy I've read. It just takes forever for things to happen. The first half of the book, the first about 250 pages, is just the main character trying to go from West Kandor to East Kandor to try to escape his mother and all the women who are trying to marry him off. And it's been done before so much. It doesn't add anything fresh or new. There's an individual scene or two that I really enjoyed in this 250 pages, but as a whole, it just felt like it just dragged on. And so I was really discouraged because I love the book covers for this series. This cover artist, Daryl K. Sweet, is my favorite cover artist, and he just does some amazing cover art for this series. However, it just didn't connect. It wasn't connecting with me, and so I was really worried. But as I mentioned, it's a dichotomy of storytelling. So the second half of the book is brilliant. The second half of the book is incredibly engaging. It's incredibly exciting. It's incredibly interesting in all the best ways. The second half of the book basically follows Kreslin and Megara as they're trying to set up their civilization. And when they're doing that, they're also trying, he's trying to fix their relationship, since they're kind of married now and they kind of have to figure stuff out. And They have such an interesting dynamic. I would describe the back and forth that they have as being very Hepburn Tracy. If you've seen old like 50s movies, I think 50s and 60s, that is the type of dynamic and relationship that they have in this book. He is constantly trying to do things right, and he's trying to say things, but she gets so frustrated with him, and she lays out everything he's doing wrong. And then when he tries to fix it, she doesn't is unhappy because he's only doing it now that she's told him that he's done it. And their dynamic is just delightful. And I think some people might find Megara annoying in this book, and some people might even find Kreslin annoying. I find that their annoyingness is what makes them so interesting, because he's trying so hard to win her affections, and she's just not letting him have it. And so it's the second half of the book's just delightful. And then you have there's a big conflict that happens near the end that I won't get into since that's at the very end of the book, and it causes all this warfare and all this kind of conflict to happen, and it's really epic and cool, and it ties up the book real nicely. And so this book, almost like you could read this as a standalone. You could read this book having never read the first book in the series, and I think you would enjoy it just perfectly, because I think that because they're so separated, there's no character connection, it's just world building connection, that you'd actually would enjoy it. And I think that this is a better book. The highs of this book are significantly higher than the first book. But the first book, I think, was a little bit more even in being good, whereas this book goes between being bland and boring to amazing. So this book does have some pretty low lows, but the highs are worth it, in my opinion. So I'd give this book like a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. I'm telling you, those first 250 pages are rough, I will admit. But man, the second 250 pages, 300 pages actually, are when it really hits its stride. And Elie Mosset Jr. just has a way of describing worlds, magic, characters, and themes that I really appreciate. I still think he could make plots a little bit tighter, but we'll see how he does later. I do have books 3 and 4 on my shelves. Book 3, The Magic Engineer, and Book 4, The Order War. I am interested in eventually getting to both of these, but again, these might be books that I read later down the line, and I feel better about reading books like this further apart. It's been a good 8 or 9 months since I read the first book. But I feel okay about that because I'm not following all single characters and a single plot line. I'm following characters from all these different eras and all these different, that have no connection. And so I don't feel like I need to read it really soon to try to get all the connections in my mind. So I do like that about the series, even though I would prefer just a straight up series if it were me. So those are my thoughts on The Towers of the Sunset. If you've read this book, what did you think of it? Did you like it, hate it, or feel mixed like I do? Have you read the other books in the series? What are your other favorite Elie Mosset Jr. books, whether they're Saga of Recluce or otherwise? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.